This episode is brought to you by the Marine Corps Association and Modern Day Marine. Ready to invest in your future? On May 1st, head to the Education and Employment Fair at Modern Day Marine. It's bigger than ever. Connect with top schools, employers, and transition resources all in one place. Whether you're planning your next move or just exploring options, this is for you. Free for active duty personnel. Register today at marinemilitaryexpos.com. That's marinemilitaryexpos.com. Hey, Scuttlebutt listeners. This is episode 189. This week, we bring you another installment of Semper Cinema with our review of David Kniess's award-winning documentary film, The Gift. The Gift tells the powerful story of Medal of Honor recipient Corporal Jason Dunham and the Marines of Kilo 37. The Gift explores the events of 2004 and the Battle of Husaybah, Iraq, that led to Corporal Dunham receiving the Medal of Honor and how his fellow Marines have responded to this gift. Nancy, William, and I explore the themes of the film and its impact on everyone, from the Marines to David to the audience. We hope to have David on the show soon, but in the meantime, please enjoy our review of this powerful story of sacrifice, courage, and love. Here is episode 189.
Howdy, Scuttlebutt listeners. This is William, and I'm here today with Nancy.
Hi, everyone.
And Vic.
Hi.
And we are here to do another episode of Semper Cinema for MCA Scuttlebutt, where we talk about Marine Corps associated films, videos, etc.
Semper Cinema.
Semper Cinema.
Did anyone bring popcorn today?
No, that was your job.
Whoops.
Dropping the ball again.
Way to
Oops.
Deflect. Hey, did anybody do the thing?
Did anyone do the thing that I specifically wanted?
Yeah, sorry.
Well,
Okay.
anyways, today we are reviewing the film The Gift, directed by David Kniess. It is a documentary film that is available for purchase on Amazon Prime and Apple TV, and it is it is quite a gut punch. Thanks for bringing down my Tuesday evening, Vic and Nancy, for this interview. I watched it last night, and it's a good thing I've returned to religion, man, because I can't just keep watching these military documentaries on repeat and not have faith in a higher power, because it's heavy stuff.
It's really heavy, and I will say, and like, not to get too far ahead already, but like, it's really so well done how it's so heavy, but yet it is uplifting at the same time.
It is. It's a story. It's very hopeful. In spite of the fact that I can't get through it without just dissolving in a sea of tears and, ugly crying.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely beautifully done. It's a beautiful
so well
movie.
done. I can't wait to talk. Just real quick.
Let's a quick recap. Sorry,
I just want to
saying.
say, we do have a couple actually links here in the building. So our boss, editor-in-chief of both our magazines, Colonel Chris Woodbridge, has been on the show, obviously. He was the RBE, the Remain Behind Commander at 7th Marines when all of this happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting if we can to get him and get some of his perspectives on it, maybe in a later episode. But then also, too, I was talking to you guys before we started recording that I served with Trent Gibson, who's featured in the film, who was the company commander for that unit in Husaybah. I served with him in Afghanistan, but I didn't really know all the stuff. But man, that guy was he's squared away, man. Like he's
So some context for our listener. This film is about a Medal of Honor winner, Jason Dunham, who was in 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines, Kilo Company.
Right.
Got them all down.
Nice.
Excellent.
Well done.
And it
No
essentially
notes, listeners.
talks about essentially how he came to win the Medal of Honor and how by essentially just jumping on a grenade with his helmet, and he unfortunately passed away about 8 days later in Bethesda, Maryland. And it talks essentially about his story, his family, his background, and as well as his fellow Marines and how they've all interpreted. So to begin our interview, I'd like to do my first question. What is both of y'all's Amazon review? Rate it 1 to 5 stars and tell me why.
I can say 5 stars. Putting the reason why into a couple of words is going to be more difficult.
Well, how about a couple of sentences?
A couple of sentences, still going to be difficult.
Yeah.
Why 5 stars? From a storytelling perspective, I thought you get all the background, you get his family, you get Jason Dunham's family story, and learn about his family, learn about why he became a Marine, and storytelling is great. The cinematography is also great. I think it's just such an important lesson for anybody to learn about a young man who was so willing to protect those with whom he was serving that he willingly gave his own life. And that kind of sacrifice, I mean, see, I'm having trouble putting it all into words. I think that kind of sacrifice is a really important thing for all Americans to know about.
All right, Vic.
Yeah, honestly, for sure 5. And if to quote Spinal Tap, man, if I could, turn it up to 11, I certainly would. The and very similar thoughts on this. That the use of genre. I thought he just played with the form of documentary so well, in that it's not told sort of straight chronologically. It doesn't follow exactly, and then it just also to the sense that you already know what's going to happen, and so I think for an unskilled, I hate to use the term, it's so overused, but an unskilled storyteller isn't going to be able to create the requisite tension when you already know sort of the conclusion. And he just does such a great job of building that tension, and then not letting us down once we get to the point where Jason Dunham does sacrifice, make the ultimate sacrifice. And then he then builds us back into it through the lives of and the stories of the survivors, concluding with the reunion that he attends. And yeah, it really it's just so compelling, and just yeah, again, it's just weird to know what happens and to still be on the edge of your seat while you're watching it.
All right, so we got 5 stars from Nancy. We got 11 out of 5 stars
Yes.
from Vic.
Yeah, I didn't know we were allowed to do that.
Well, I mean,
You're
it's
not.
Spinal Tap.
Well,
Okay.
Come on.
Vic's a rule breaker.
Spinal Tap. I mean, they set the bar at 11.
maybe we'll do a Semper Cinema for Spinal Tap one day. We'll find some Marine Corps relations. Maybe it was like some gaffer or whatever. But anyways, I would have to give. I'm between 4.5 and 5 stars. Very impressed with the cinematography. One thing that at first triggered me, I guess, a little bit was there are certain scenes from the footage that were captured from other battles outside of Huseba. Like I remember, it was like I've seen that meme with Leonardo DiCaprio. He's like pointing at the TV, like from the film What's Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's like look at me. He's like, that's me. Like I saw footage that I used from the Fallujah video inside. So like for me, I was like, okay. But then at one point there's a caption saying this is actual footage from his medevac. Like, okay, so I mean, I understand the problems they're going through making a documentary, especially for some reason, a lot of the wars from the GWAT era are difficult to find film for, just because I guess the nature of storaging them and losing them and preserving them has been hard. So I think at first I was like, okay, maybe there's some authenticity issues by not using footage from Hussein, but like, okay, I understand the limitations, especially seen in the credits too, where they tribute to where they got their footage from. It's divots. It's I was like, okay, maybe I can have a better respect for the pool of which they're getting their secondary footage from, and so that puts it from a 4.5 to a 5 for me. Great as nothing that has been said before, but great pacing, great way to do a narrative arc, and I think it's a pretty critical film, and we'll talk a little bit more about this as we go forth. But I mean, a critical film for veterans of American veterans of the GWAT era, and it's very timely, and we'll get a little more into that. So,
one thing, just a shameless plug for anybody who wants more detail about the Battle of Huseba. We have a guest on here, Lieutenant Colonel
David Kelly.
David Kelly, who wrote the book Hell on the Streets of Huseba. He's been on the show, talks extensively about he chronicled all of the firsthand accounts from the battle. So you can learn more about that. But I guess to your point, as far as like video footage, just to remember that Huseba was going on about the same time as Fallujah. And so a lot of the actions, not just in Fallujah, but like Al-Qaim and, of the myriad of other battles.
I like what they did though, where it's like where they use a lot of B footage. They don't dwell in it for too long. They don't let you try to take in the whole image and try to figure out where specifically that is. It's a lot of flashy.
Yeah.
So it's quick for the narrative, but also it lends itself to authentic storytelling, where it's like this is an experience that Marines felt during this particular year in this era of GWAT. So and that's why it bumped up from a 4.5 to 5. It's like they used they called out authenticity when they could, and they didn't again allow you to dwell too much on the footage. It was used it was used as pacing. So Vic, tell us a little bit about the director. What do we know from him? Apparently he emailed you last night, right?
Well, we had with as you can imagine. So also for context, this video actually won the correct me, Nancy, the Heritage.
It was one of the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation Awards in 2023.
Right.
I have just blanked on the name of the award, but David was an award winner. David Kniess.
Yeah, and so
director.
so were you. You were an award winner that year as well, right? And
Correct.
So you guys were both there together.
And the coincidence is the day we both found out we were award winners, Leatherneck was finishing up our May issue, and we had an article for the May issue about the film, and our staff writer Kyle Watts had interviewed David, and I sent David a quick email just after I found out that I had won an award. Hey, David, just want to get some updates on when this film is going to be released, or if you have any details on that. And I didn't hear back from him until the afternoon, and he said, well, he gave me the update, and he also said, you also might want to add, I just found out, that I won this award, which was cool because then we got to meet in person.
Yeah.
And shameless plug for Leatherneck, there's a detailed story in the May 2023 issue about the film, and really about how David took on this project, because the interesting thing is David actually met Jason Dunham on a flight before Jason deployed, and David was so impressed talking to Jason that they ended up talking the whole flight. And I think it was a coast to coast flight, but they ended up talking the whole time. And so David actually knew the person he was making a documentary about, which I think is why the story feels so, we as viewers feel so connected to the story, because I think David was so connected to the story.
Well, maybe I'll be better equipped to answer this question, Nancy. So, what other films has David Kniess done? You don't know?
My mind is just blanked.
So yeah, he does a lot of work. So he was working with Black Rifle Company.
Yeah.
I think he was the director of content for them. Maybe still is.
And he's part of a production company called Three Branches.
Yeah.
Because it's formed by veterans from 3 different branches. Yeah. David is a Navy veteran.
He's a Navy veteran. Interesting. Okay, so they'll go sort of segue into the next question. So, who's this film made for?
Oh.
Who's its primary audience, and then we can break it down like who's the secondary audience.
I would say, and I think to echo what Nancy said, I think primarily it's made for him. And then in that orbit for the survivors. I think The Gift has so many has meaning on so many levels. I think obviously The Gift is the gift that Jason Dunham gave to his fellow Marines, but I think this film is a gift also to those survivors as well.
I feel that way too.
Why do you feel David made this film for himself?
I think because of what I I and I don't want to try to play in someone else's head. If it were me in his shoes, if I'd had this sort of really deep connection with someone who I probably would have already respected for what it is that they do. He was a Marine going to Iraq, and we connect over this thing, and then I find out later that not only was he killed in combat, but that he got the Medal of Honor for say I just I think when we talked to David, there was a lot of that. Like he felt a very sort of visceral reaction. It wasn't just sort of a news blurb that such and such Marine was killed. It was, I need to share this story. I feel like there was a visceral need for David to tell this story.
And he was also very closely acquainted with Jason's fellow Marines for the last 20 years. So it became more than just Jason's story. It was all of their stories. And like you said, Vic, part of the gift is David telling this story. I mean, I don't know, maybe we need to edit this out if I go too deep, but I come from a religious tradition in Judaism. Honoring people's memories is very important, and so every year on the death of a loved one, you light a candle, you remember them, you say the mourner's Kaddish, because for us, storytelling and remembering people after they're gone and the lives that they lived is a very important thing. And to me, it feels that this film is kind of similar to that. It's a way of honoring Jason's whole life, not just that one so important moment, but his entire life, and what the actions of one person can mean, the kind of ripple effect that they can have. And so I kind of get the feeling or have this belief that maybe it wasn't a coincidence that David was sitting next to Jason on that flight, because that put him in the most perfect position to care about telling this story the right way and to bring us such a beautiful film that's not just Jason's story, but so many other stories.
Sure. I'm leaning towards it was meant for veterans, specifically veterans of the GWAT era, but veterans as a whole, because they do bring in that segment where they talked about where they went to a funeral for a chosen veteran, and then that his generation of era veterans were there as well, attending the funeral. So it's a story that can be repeated throughout all of history. But I primarily I think a lot of the messaging was geared towards more recent veterans, especially in light of how the GWAT war ended, and that a lot of like the I don't want to say subliminal because it's very open, but like when it's things that a lot of civilians would not pick up on, and they also, I don't think they're trying to unnecessarily. Yes, it tells a story that civilians are unaware of and need to learn, but a lot of like the bigger picture messaging is generally pointed towards veterans, particularly combat veterans of the GWAT era. And then that's why I say like the civilians like me and Nancy were more like secondary, because it's almost a conversation that we can observe but can never really fully be a part of. And the film doesn't necessarily try to point at us.
Right.
Point at us. At least that's how I felt.
No, I think that's
because
right.
Remember when we should maybe do a review of this, since we interviewed the guy Once the Marine. Remember I made you watch that for a podcast interview. That one I felt was very much pointed at me as someone who's never served and was never been in combat. I feel that one was more pointed at me than this one. But I mean, it was great to be on the sidelines and learn something. So the second question, or third, or wherever we're at right now, is why was this film released now? Because Jason was mortally wounded in 2004, It's now came out early, like January 2025, so 21 years later. Why now?
I think the reunion had a lot to do with it. That when David went to that reunion, it kind of was the sort of the capstone part of this.
And if I'm remembering correctly from the Leatherneck article, David does go into that a little bit, but as I'm remembering, he said, enough time has passed that he's able to tell the story in a more comprehensive and complete way. That's why I think now.
Because one thing I noticed is obviously this event happened 21 years ago, and I don't know how long he's been actually planning to do this film, but it seemed like a lot of the actual interviews were conducted within the past few years or so. It was like all these people who were involved and knew and fought with Jason almost had time to marinate on it, and you're gonna get a different perspective now than you would the day after or the year or two even. I mean,
I think
presumably these were all done with around 20 years after the event happened.
Yeah, so I mean, it was cut and finished, 2 years ago. Thus, the award that he received for it, and it was very much a grassroots effort, just getting it to where it is now. But I guess like what Nancy was saying, I know he stayed in touch with these guys well before, so he was and
there are some video interviews from before, but for whatever reason they're not used in the film.
Yeah, but he also, I mean, he was a part of these Marines' lives, and so he was. It wasn't that he just sort of came in as a third party interested. He knew these guys. He was friends with these guys, and so he saw all of the ripple effects that you had mentioned, like in real time. And so it could have been a thing where it was just, it's time. Like I've seen enough. It's time to tell it. And that I guess it could, kind of a slow drip, but it does take a long time to sort of.
Because the story isn't just Jason's life and death. The story is what happened as a result of who Jason was. So that story couldn't fully be told 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So the film's title is The Gift, and they kind of it's a motif that appears especially in the latter half of the film. What is the gift? That's the question.
I think the way the movie begins, I think helps tell a lot of that story. I just love that he begins the film with the son of
beautiful
a Marine
opening
that was saved by
riding his bike.
Right.
Beautiful opening.
So I mean, and as a child of young boys, I can't. What did I say?
You said a child.
Fuck. It's accurate on so many levels.
Vic, actually. I would love to be your psychiatrist.
I wish I could say that was a slip, but it's so true. Yeah, well, just ask my wife. There's 3 kids in the house. But as the father of 2 young boys, I just can't imagine a more profound gift than being able to see my kids grow up. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, I don't know what I can add to that, because that's what the gift is. The gift is life for others.
It's very much like the notion where it's like a motif I've heard throughout studying American military history is that the idea that you go to war, you're already dead, and then any moment you get after that is a gift.
Yeah,
and that essentially, I mean, in some ways, by directly helping to extend the lives of other people, it was like that was Jason's gift. But also, the fact that he like another gift is the fact that he did return home alive, and that his step parents were able to have a moment that a lot of people who have had people who are killed in wars don't get to experience.
Yeah.
That almost the especially in American culture, like the sentimental idea of dying around your family, regardless if you're in the military or not, is something that a lot of people want to have, and that if you don't have it, you feel like you've missed out a part of life. So it's incredible in that regard. But
also too, the gift too is this sense of family that came from his sacrifice. It wasn't just that they're alive; it's that they coalesce. My company Charlie Company, Third Tracks. These guys were amazing. I couldn't have been more proud to have been an American and to have been with these guys in Iraq. But once we came home, like we all got redeployed, reassigned, went to other areas. We've all sort of, these guys didn't. I mean, Kilo 37, these guys are still in each other's lives. They have the gift of family because of his sacrifice. His family's become their family and vice versa. There's just so much about it. And to your point about, families who don't get those opportunities, those last few beautiful moments. There's also all of the ripple effects of, all of the veteran suicide and the struggles that veterans have with mental health. And as we've talked many times on the show, one of the main reasons is that loss of community. So that gift that these guys all have that they can turn to one another is another aspect, I think, where the title is really profound.
So that leads on to, I guess, like the last big question before we can do more, I guess, casual conversation. What is the argument of the film?
Ooh, good one.
Because I holistically argue that there is an argument.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll start off with the counter then. One of the things I appreciated about it was I didn't think there was necessarily an agenda or a point that was trying to be made, but.
Okay, so there's a history professor I had from college who thinks that all art is political, and since then, I originally fought against him, and then since then he ruined my perception of art. Where I can't listen to an album, I can't look at a piece of art, I can't watch a film without going straight to that.
Yes, so I only listen to Rage Against the Machine, so I guess I'm kind of out.
Well, again, definitely. There's no all art is political. Definitely, all art is political. Definitely applies to Rage Against the Machine. With that asshole Tom Morello. Anyways, so Vic says there is no argument. What about you, Nancy?
I don't know. Honestly, I've been sitting here for about the last 30 seconds, silently crying. So I have no idea.
I ask this question every time, so maybe let's.
I don't know if there is an argument to this film either.
I think there is. Because I argue that this film is geared towards veterans, GWAT veterans. It came out after the withdrawal from Afghanistan, and yes, this film does take place in Iraq, but things didn't go too hot for Americans there as well. There's still active involvement there, and I think the commandant at the time, I should know this, sent a message basically saying like your service mattered. I think this film plays into that, especially
at the withdrawal of Afghanistan.
Yeah,
it was Berger.
Yeah. So Berger sent a message basically like, hey, look out for your buddies. Your service mattered. Doesn't matter how things played out. Like you served a purpose, and I feel like a lot like how sort of like the Vietnam vets, the GWAT vets, from what I've experienced, from my perspective, have the same sort of issue of the war didn't necessarily go out the way it played, fought a good fight. Why? What was the purpose? And this film is trying to say that despite what happened, your buddies who are out there and fought with you and died with you, uh, they gave you a gift, and the gift is for you to cherish and to hold dear, and then to continue going on, which is weird. Well, not weird, but which I think ties into why that's the film's argument, is because the last line from an for an interviewee, one of the people that was interviewed for the films, essentially says like, you need to go on, you need to keep going. Something along those lines. That's not a verbatim quote.
Yeah,
Please don't destroy me, the internet. That is not a verbatim, but essentially along the lines that says that. So I think that is the argument of the film. It's taking this story, that a very intimate, personal story to all those involved and all those filmed, but it's something that every vet, um, particularly from the last war, because that's the subject matter, can embrace. That's why it's speaking to them, and it's making the argument that like, you were, regardless of what happened, you were given a gift. You need to cherish it, and
And what you did matters.
what you did matters. So that's what I would at least look, especially watching like the credits when they do like the last discussions. Like, okay, that's the cherry on top. That's I think that was how I perceived the point.
Yeah.
The argument that the film was trying to make.
Hey, sold me. I'm good.
Yeah,
that sounds good
I
to
would
me.
I would have to agree with you, William.
Yeah, I mean,
So what you said.
I paid how many dollars for grad school to come up with great, profound things like that. Anyways, so, Vic, I've essentially made the argument that this is for veterans, and I made the argument that the argument is that this is a message to veterans. How do you feel when you watch these films? Obviously, it's going to be different and something I can't understand as well as Nancy, but like, what's in your mind when you're watching these?
A lot of times, because also, I obviously there's a visceral sense to a lot of it. The what I do in my life, just in general, which translates into how I consume media, is I like to bifurcate and separate, distance myself from. So I tend to become overly analytical when I get defensive, and so I will start to break down things like art and expression and styles and genre and things of that nature, so that I can bury my head in the sand on the emotional side. This one's a tough one. This one was really tough to do. It really hurt at times, and like I said, because I served with Trent. I took over for him in Afghanistan. We were both in Marja at the same time doing a RIPTOA, and he's a prior enlisted Amtracker too. So I mean, dude's just cut from the right jib. And I was telling you guys before we started recording, like, he got blown up going to pick me up. So this dude is. It was personal. Watching this video was personal. To see Trent again after so many years, it's tough, man. But some of them aren't very well done, and so it's very easy to separate myself from that, because I'm like, look at the storytelling, this and that, or this is so cliche, or whatever.
The lighting sucks.
Yeah. I do that. I'm like, going, who scripted this fucker? Whatever.
Yeah.
So. I'm rambling because I'm uncomfortable, but yeah, it's hard. It's hard sometimes. I was the movie Lone Survivor. I actually broke down crying in the movie theater watching it. So you never know when the shit's gonna hit. Not too long ago, I watched another movie, and it like really set me back like a few days. And then other times I'll watch something like really crazy, and my wife would be like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. What's the deal?" So yeah.
Do you ever like have like a hell yeah action, like watching like Rambo 2?
Oh fuck, Rambo! I mean, which is the one where he blows up the hind with the bow and arrow? When he's in Afghanistan.
That's
four?
3. That's 3.
Is that 3?
That's
Okay.
3.
Yeah, that's definitely a hell yeah moment. But I don't know. You just there's no I mean, there's triggers, but it's just no predicting what the hell the results can be. But this was heavy, like you said. This is a heavy one.
All right. So I guess to round out this interview, let's go around, starting with we'll do Nancy, Vic, and myself. What is one scene that stuck with you and why?
One scene that stuck with me and why. The interview with Jason's parents, where his mom Deb finds out, she recounts how she found out that Jason did not have her as the medical
the executor.
The medical power of attorney,
right.
Or whatever the exact terminology is, and she was a little offended and asked him, well, why? I always signed all your permission slips, all that. I always did all that. Why? What do you mean you didn't put me as that? And his response to her was, because moms bring kids into the world.
Right.
Okay. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, Vic.
I think I mentioned, the intro, because it really had gotten, it was just such a unique introduction to the story, I thought. And it was, so I thought it was just such a wonderfully, beautifully photograph, or, the imagery was just so beautiful. So, yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's during, I think, the credits when they said, like, dedicated to those of 3-7 who were killed, and could see, like, certain dates where it'd be like 5th August. I don't actually remember that specific one, but where it's like there'd be like 4 or 5 names under it. And it just really kind of just evoked to me, like when I went to France, and every town has a World War I statue, and some of them had actually like dates attached to the names, so they'd be like, names of everyone killed in that town and what year or what month or what day, and just to like see like, oh, like 1916, that's the Battle of Verdun. That's like, to this town, it was like the worst day of the war, and just to see like, which that the fighting on certain specific days in Afghanistan was really harder than others, and what days for that battalion where just absolutely was horrendous.
Well, you saw that with your Fallujah video. You're talking about like the days when it was like it was real.
And so that's something like that. It just hits me more. So, well, to our audience, thanks for listening. Definitely go check out The Gift. Like I said, it is available for purchase, streaming on Amazon Prime and Apple TV. Give it a watch. It is well worth your time. To all of our veterans out there, you have a gift. You're here.
Semper Fi, yeah.
Semper Fidelis. Or I don't remember the others for the other services, but you matter to Army, Navy, and Air Force,
and Coasties,
and Space Force. You have to throw that one in there now these days. But anyways, thanks for tuning in. Check out The Gift.
Yeah, next one we do, man, we gotta do like Flash Gordon or something like really lighthearted.
Really lighthearted.
Yeah. We have to watch something a little more upbeat. But this, honestly, though, I just want to close out by saying, yes, it was a heavy film. At times, it was emotional for me. Obviously, just sitting here talking about it was emotional, but you pointed this out before we started recording, Vic, that it has a very positive, uplifting, optimistic ending and outlook, and I think that's also important to acknowledge, that it's not gratuitously sad.
Right. Yeah, it's not combat voyeurism. Yeah.
Right.
Combat voyeurism.
That's a great term. And just a beautiful film. I can't recommend it enough.
Whenever people ask me what movies I make for MC, I mean like combat voyeurism.
And then and so for our veterans, and I guess thank you for asking the question you did, William. If you are struggling, or if you just find community somewhere within your faith group, find a VFW or American Legion post, get with PB Abate, but you're not alone, man. We love you guys. we love you guys, and you are loved, and you're not alone. So find someone, and if you aren't, and you know of someone, call them. If you think of them, text them. Do something. Reach out. But we die on islands when we stay together. We're strong. So find someone. That's it.
All right. Have a
Thank
good one.
you.
Mark your calendar. Commandant of the Marine Corps, General Eric Smith, delivers his keynote in Modern Day Marine on May 1st at 1300. Hear directly from the top on priorities, challenges, and the future of the Corps. You won't want to miss it. Free for active duty personnel. Register now at marinemilitaryexpos.com. That's marinemilitaryexpos.com. We would like to thank the Marine Corps Association and Modern Day Marine for sponsoring this episode. Scuttlebutt is a production of the Marine Corps Association. You have heard the voices or contributions from Major Vic Rubel, USMC retired, Nancy Lichman, William Truding, and our guest. Ty Frazier is the editor, sound engineer, and technical producer. The Marine Corps Association is not an agency of the U.S. government. The opinions expressed in this episode are the personal views of the participants and do not reflect the official position of the United States Marine Corps, the Department of Defense, or the Marine Corps Association.